Up till now, everything on the iceberg has only been above the water. However, starting with this layer, everything will be under it. And stuff will be getting a lot more obscure. Like, a lot of this stuff above I already knew, but I didn't know, like, basically anything underneath. And I'm guessing it'll be the same for a lot of you as well. Also, one thing that I want to talk about quick. It isn't part of the iceberg, but I thought it was really interesting. You slash Josh ship posted on Reddit this. And then it had the following two images attached. The first one showing Tonagawa and when he was introduced, and the second showing him later on. And I just thought it was really cool seeing Fukumoto's art style evolution. With all of that out of the way, it's about time we started on the actual entries on the third layer. We're starting off with the black suits were inside the rock, paper, scissors gamble boxes. This entry is referring to a scene in the Tonagawa Middle Management Blues spin-off, where it can be seen that one of the black suits is sitting in one of the gamble boxes from the Espor. Or maybe in this case it would be a white shirt because he doesn't have his suit jacket on. I don't know. The terminology doesn't matter. However, it's not fully confirmed that that one of them is actually sitting in the gamble boxes, due to the fact that, as in the previous Slayer, that it's just not exactly confirmed if the spin-offs are canon or if they're like partially canon or something, so not exactly sure if this is actually real or not, but is a funny thing. So, as reseinen said, just take it with a grain of salt. Anyways, time for the next entry. Kaiji DS. This entry is referring to the Kaiji DS game released in 2008, based off of, Kaiji. And it's really interesting because there's in total 3 chapters. The first one covers the Ship of Despair arc, if I remember that was what it was called, but it's the Spore. The second one covers the Brave Man's Road. And then the third one covers the E-card and the tissue raffle. And overall, it's pretty interesting because it seems to differ a bit from what actually happens, I think. Not exactly sure. I think you might be able to get a different ending or something like that. Though I'm not exactly sure, as I mostly just skimmed through the footage. But it looks kind of bad, even for a DS game, especially because a lot of the things just kind of look like they took a screenshot from the anime, then put it in the game, so it doesn't really look that great. But yeah. However, this is not the only Kaiji video game, as we will see in the next entry. Kaiji PS1. This entry is referring to the Kaiji PS1 game, which was released in the year 2000, which may explain why it only has one gamble, or at least from the clips I could find, it only seems to have the one rock, paper, scissors gamble from the first part of Kaiji. There may be a scene in it where you're forced to do like a forced labor minigame, and then if you don't do it, then it deletes your save, but I'm not exactly sure about that. Also, as you can see, it uses like those CG graphics from back in the day, so it doesn't exactly look great. Kind of like the DS game, but I think it is just slightly better because it seems to use like assets that they created compared to like just taking pictures of the anime, which that's what it looked like the DS game did. Also, I'm not exactly sure if it's the same game that was just like re-released, but there also seems to be a version on the PSX. I couldn't find anything about that on the iceberg, so I figured I might as well mention it here. So yeah, that's about it for the Kaiji PS1 game. Kaiji Nendoroid. It's kind of sad how many takes it took me to pronounce that correctly, or at least how I think it's pronounced. Anyways, Nendoroid from what I could find, seems to be some kind of like chibi action figure, or I guess just a chibi figure. And recently they announced a Kaiji one. From what I can find, they only have this one, which is based off of, Kaiji's outfit from part 2 when he's down in the underground mines of the Hyodo Corporation. However, I did find a few other Kaiji figures online, like this one. So now you can put Kaiji on the Brave Men's Road, making him so scared at falling down. You can also buy this, which something about it just doesn't seem right. On to the next entry. Kaiji plans to leave Japan. Kaiji has said in a chapter before that he plans to leave Japan, and once he gets out of there, he says that Cheng and Mario should go back to their home countries, whereas he will likely go to either Singapore or Macau. You've probably all heard of Singapore before, but you might not have heard of Macau, which I searched it up, and it's a special administrative region under the People's Republic of China. Basically what that is it's like it's still part of the country, but it's able to govern differently. So I think Hong Kong is in the same boat. Also, apparently there's a lot of casinos there, so you can kind of guess what Kaiji is going to do if he goes there. Now, personally, I wouldn't spend all the money I just won from gambling in a life or death game on more gambling. But then again, I'm not addicted to gambling, so guess I'll just have to get addicted to it someday, so then I know why Kaiji does this. Kaiji's family. Though not mentioned or shown often, which is a bit of a downplay, Kaiji's family has been mentioned and shown a couple of times, such as that his father had passed away, and in the recent part, it also there's like a mini arc where he met his mother, and it's also been mentioned that his sister was a civil servant, so don't really know if she'll ever show up, but she might, considering the fact that, she's his family. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see if she ever shows up in the manga. Kaiji VR game. So back in 2017, there's another Kaiji game release, which was, of course, VR, which is pretty cool and is based off of the whole human derby, or Brave Men's Road arc between the Castle of Despair and the Rock Paper Scissors. I'll show the trailer here. So, as you can see, it looks pretty cool, and from what I could tell, they seem to adapt Fukumoto's style pretty well to 3D models. I tried to see if there is a sequel, but I don't think there is, or a plan to make one. Besides, this is probably the best part to make kind of VR game, because none of the other gambles would really work for VR, or at least they wouldn't be as tense as this. So I'm guessing this is going to be the only VR one. Hopefully there is another game someday of the different gambles, but at least for now, this seems to be it. Kaiji stage play. Kaiji has had a theatrical production made about it, and so yeah, that's pretty interesting. And apparently it's called a 2.5D play, which is manga and anime adapted into, plays. But I feel like that doesn't really make sense. Like a 2.5D play would be like you have the set, and then you have TVs, and then like the TVs play like an anime person, At least I think that would make more sense, but I guess it's a cool name. Ramblings aside, it does seem to have a high production value, and as you can see here, the actor for Kaiji looks pretty accurate, especially with the hair. So yeah, and also you can find some of it on YouTube. I don't know if you can find the rest somewhere else, but you can watch some of it. So if you want to, just search it up, or I might put a link in the description. So yeah. Also, one thing I just thought of was in a lot of the stages they have like a pit, so they could open that up, and then for the human derby, when people fall, they could have them fall into the pit, like just have some mats down there or something. I don't know, just thought of that. Kurosawa cameo. This entry is referring to another of Fukumoto's works called The Legend of the Strongest Man Kurosawa, and the main character Kurosawa is seen in early on in the second season of Kaiji's intro. And there he is, sitting right on Kaiji's left. And that is, from what I can find, the only cameo he has in Kaiji. And as one person on Reddit said, sadly, this will probably be the only time we get to see Kurosawa animated, but, hopefully we get to see it. And if any of you haven't read Kurosawa, I would say that you should read it, as even though enjoyability-wise I like Kaiji more, writing-wise, I think Kurosawa is the better story. Kaiji Gaiden. This is a one-shot which is about what Kaiji would have done had he not decided to go to the Espor. And since it's only a one-shot, I will do a brief summary of what kind of happens in it. We start off by seeing that Kaiji has gone to Macau, the same, or at least one of the places he plans to go to once he escapes from Japan. Next, we are told how Kaiji got money to gamble, and that was apparently by borrowing from more moneylenders and by stealing the credit cards of his family and friends. And then we are explained the gamble that he's doing at this casino, and it is that there are 3 dice, and whatever number they roll, you bet that the total number will be under 10. If it is, then you win, and if you bet that it's over 10, then you win, so it's kind of simple. Surprisingly, Kaiji starts off with a win, but then, not so surprisingly, he goes on a losing streak. Soon, Kaiji notices something, and that is there's a board that keeps record of all the wins and losses of the past several rounds, and from what he can see, it seems to be making a object, or like a kanji. And so he thinks that eventually, it'll spell that out as a kanji. And it does do that several times, but he never bets. So eventually, he does decide to bet, and he was thinking of the wrong kanji. Then he loses, and he does that again. And due to him getting angry, because he thought, it's stupid, and it should have shown him what he thought it was going to be, he gets angry at them, and then he gets kicked out of the establishment, and he walks away very sadly and depressively. As I said, that was only a brief overview, so you should read it yourself. It's only 22 pages, and you can find it basically anywhere online, so it shouldn't be too hard to locate. It also reinforces the idea that maybe he shouldn't go to Macau once he leaves Japan. But I guess we'll just have to keep waiting and see what he does next in the manga. Kaiji's voice actor is a professional mahjong player. It's exactly as it sounds. The voice actor for Kaiji is a professional mahjong player. What's more than that is that he's actually pretty good in it and has gotten pretty good places in like several mahjong tournaments before. Also, he's the voice actor for Akagi, and so a nickname that people came up for him was Real Akagi. So that's kind of funny. Of course, he has voice for other stuff such as the Tonagawa spin-off and One Outs, which is another gambling like anime manga. Also, apparently he sang the opening for the first season of Kaiji, which, you know, I think that makes sense, like have the main character sing it. So I searched it up, and it's not like some super duper rare thing, but it doesn't happen as often as you think it does. So, as you think it would, I mean. So I think that's a pretty cool fact about him as well. And what makes all this more impressive is that his parents had a divorce when he was 3 years old, and afterwards he went to live with his father till his father died in 4th grade. And then he lived with his grandparents, so he never lived with his mom. So his entire childhood was really dysfunctional. And despite that, he was able to become a professional in multiple career fields. So, like, I know it's a screen, but you might as well clap for this guy because he's freaking amazing. And to top it all off, he's also been in several live-action productions and even won awards for those. So yeah, this dude... awesome. Mikoko marketing for Season 2. So during the advertising for the Season 2, like, boxes, like the physical release, they would use, like, drawings of Mikoko in different outfits to try to get people to buy it, which... you know, it's kind of weird, because she's barely even in it, except for, like, the outro. So, like, most people who watch the anime probably wouldn't even know who she is unless they read the manga first. So, I don't know. It's a bit of a weird inclusion, but, I mean, I guess that's what they did. Kaiji Season 3 rumors. This one is referring to the fact that, you know, obviously people have been wondering if there is a Season 3 or they want there to be a Season 3, especially because the material that it would cover is one of, if not the best gamble in the series. So, you know, people just really want to see that. Plus, you know, it makes sense for them to make a Season 3 because there's a lot of material out. Even with those things adding to the possibility of there being a Season 3, there are some stuff that, of course, makes it seem less likely, such as the fact that it's been like a decade. But more anime are being made each year now than ever before, so it would make sense for it to be picked up eventually. So, though, honestly, the only hope for it might be if it's some kind of, like, Berserk situation, or the fan base just animates it, but the Kaiji fan base isn't anywhere near as large as the Berserk, so that's doubtful. So it's not looking bright, but I guess it's technically a possibility. Also, maybe it's because all the recent parts of Kaiji all have the Tobacco Datenroku Kaiji, like I think was it prefix. So maybe it's all just one part, so maybe Fukumoto's just like, nah, we'll just all animate it once I'm done with it. I don't know. But at least for now, all we have are rumors. Hopefully we'll get a confirmation one day, but it is starting to seem unlikely. But you never know. Kaiji Mads and fan work. This entry is referring to, of course, Mads, which are kind of like Japanese AMVs, and, you know, a long time ago, at least from what I could find, don't seem to be made that much anymore. There used to be a lot of these made in the Kaiji community, as you can see this video playing on the screen right now, which is a parody of Bobo's anime opening. I think I said that correctly, though I may be wrong. There's also one animating over the intro of Nichijou. Of course, those are not the only ones. There's this one where it's like they actually animate over the Kaiji intro to make it look like Squid Game, and this channel has made several others like that, so I'd actually suggest you watch some of these videos. They're pretty good. I know I said that MADs are kind of just like Japanese AMVs, but that's just something I read on Reddit, and to be completely honest, they seem to be more like YouTube poops from the ones I've seen. Like, they add, several points of it to one video to make it seem kind of funny, so at least, that's just what I've seen. In all reality, I don't really know exactly what a MAD is, but, Kaiji, Doujinshi, and ships. I'm guessing there's a good chance most of you know what a doujinshi is, but in case you don't, it's basically like it's kind of like a self-published manga. So that's created a lot, and a lot of the time, it's of like fan drawn like versions of stories. So, and a lot of doujinshis are hentai, which, in case you don't know, well, I'm guessing that you've been lying about your age on YouTube, which, yeah, I don't care. Who hasn't? But it's basically just porn. So, yeah, there's a lot of that, and it does seem like Fukumoto knows that his fan base is kind of like this, because, you know, there's a picture of him holding an Akagi body pillow. Despite all my dramatization, it's not the worst thing in the world, and it's kind of expected after the series existing for several decades. But, whatever. And of course, I'm not going to show any of the pictures on screen because, I mean, for obvious reasons. But if for some reason you want to, I'm guessing it wouldn't be too hard to find these. So, also, I forgot to mention it earlier, but I should give a shout out to u/no standard 8070 because they're making a Minefield Mahjong like fan work. I'm not sure if it's just going to be the intro or if they're going to animate the whole thing. Probably just the intro, but either way, shout out to this person because it's pretty cool. Should go check it out if you want to.